This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Oh, and we are here on a Tuesday afternoon. Thank God. Let's see if we can get through about 45 minutes today without my internet crapping out. It has been a struggle, y'all. The struggle has been real, but I am happy to be here live. I enjoy doing these shows. I enjoy getting to spend time with my boy SP3. Feels like we've been on like hiatus for like 2 damn weeks. Just a little sprinkling of us in and out. But we're here. We're 11 days out from SummerSlam. Does it feel like we're 11 days out from SummerSlam? Like, I'm putting together the rundown for the show this morning, and I'm going like, I'm getting like serious. They are just using SummerSlam to sell SummerSlam vibes out of this whole entire build. Like, F it. We don't have to try. It's SummerSlam. It sells itself, which is the absolute worst mentality you want, right? It's your biggest show, your second, third, depending on which debate you want to have. It's one of your top 3 shows of the year. You should be going balls to the wall to make this damn thing special. And they've done such a piss poor job, SP3, of booking this damn thing that even they themselves are reportedly pissed about it. This is where we are at now.
It takes someone very inept at what they do to be bothered by the job they've done putting together something. That's like the creators of the bus looking at the bus and being like, you know what, we could have done better. We could have done better. We could have got more people on this. Oh my God, I can't believe that report. That report is the definition of being bad at what you do.
At this
but
point,
TV14 is going to save everything. Remember.
We'll talk about TV14. Yes, we'll talk about another world title match that has been set for SummerSlam in 11 days. We'll talk about a myriad of title changes that happened last night. Why on God's green earth was Titus O'Neil out there? And Ric Flair's final match has been set. Oh, yeah, and by the way, before I forget to bring it up, major AEW return in the works. Finally, something SP3 can smile about, can get excited about, can get happy about. First things first, we got to thank our partners over at BetOnline, the continued #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports information. Get the latest odds, news, developments, including Major League Baseball, fighting news, next season's early NFL futures, training camp right around the corner. BetOnline has opened up the odds for team wins, division futures, and of course the Super Bowl. Bet it all on Cincinnati, baby. Head to the website, use your mobile device to sign up today. Receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav to get that bonus and get into the action. That is spelled BLEAV. BetOnline, where the game starts. And I want to make SP3 wait a little bit because I just want to kind of rant and rave about this. WrestleVotes, very reliable Twitter account, has broken news before in the past, has been proven accurate in the past, putting out a tweet today. Hang on, let me pull it up. As you can tell, I'm very well prepared for today's show. As soon as my internet decides to work here. Yes. So, WrestleVotes putting out this tweet about an hour ago. In the most WWE of ways, I had a source tell me this morning they really don't like the SummerSlam card. They being the people who put it together. And then he closed it out, or she, because I don't know, frankly, by saying, what? Question mark, exclamation point. SP3, when you hear a report that WWE is pissed off about the card that they have put together, I guess that means that they at least care, right? Because that's always been my question is, do they actually give a shit about more than like 3 people or 4 or 5 people in this company? Or are they just bad at what they do? If they're not happy with how the card is shaken out, I guess that means they're just bad at what they do, right? Or what does this scream out to you more than anything?
this screams out that they are bad at their job. Yeah, and I think Hypnosis Bro put it the best here in the chat. SummerSlam feels like Backlash. We're getting a whole bunch of WrestleMania rematches, Money in the Bank rematches, and they haven't even tried to add anything new. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns is the same feud that we got at WrestleMania with one angle that they've done between the two, and that was Brock Lesnar returning and this match being created. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair feels like a retread, but it's getting by, and people are somewhat excited to see that because they had a fantastic match at WrestleMania. Similar point to Usos and Street Profits. They haven't done jack crap with that, except for just getting people hyped because they're going to see another great match like they did at Money in the Bank. Theory doesn't feel like he's feuding with Bobby Lashley. Ronda Rousey doesn't feel like she's feuding with Liv Morgan. The only three feuds that are somewhat interesting is Riddle and Seth Rollins, because we know that's going to be a great match, not anything to do with the build-up. Corbin and Pat McAfee, because Pat McAfee at least took the time to explain that there's some backstory between these two, and it's actually been building and progressing from week to week, unlike any of the other build-ups. And Logan Paul and The Miz, because at least it's new. Like, that's not. I mean, I don't.
Who am I supposed to root for there? Like,
I have no idea. I have
Like-
no idea. If you go by the Raw audience last night, it's probably The Miz.
that's what I'm thinking. Like, you knew this was the plan, right? You set this whole feud up at WrestleMania when The Miz gave Logan Paul a skull-crushing finale. You watched that crowd reaction that Logan Paul got. He had them eating out of his hands in the best way possible. Just nuclear white hot heat. He's one of these guys that the fans love to hate. So much so they cheered the effing Miz when he gave him a skull-crushing finale. You knew that. And you knew you wanted to do this match coming up at SummerSlam. Yet here we are 11 days out and The Miz is still a heel. I ask you why. Why didn't you turn him babyface months ago? At least weeks ago? Like, I'm looking back and I'm watching that main event segment and I'm watching the promo exchange and I'm like, I don't know who's the good guy here, who's the bad guy here, and what the hell are we doing with Tommaso Ciampa? Like, why is Ciampa just Miz's like hired crony? Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever that they're doing with Ciampa or anything. Like, if this had turned into a tag match with AJ Styles and Ciampa being involved with that, okay, that might make a little bit. What are we doing with AJ Styles? Because he's been wrestling Theory the last couple of weeks. Plus, you got Dolph Ziggler in Theory. Plus, you got Theory and Bobby Lashley. So you got Theory feuding with like 8 different people. Everything is all over the place. Right.
No, like last week, AJ Styles was in a tag team match against Ciampa and Miz, and then this week, I guess he forgot about that feud, even though the match ended by disqualification with Ciampa attacking him. He just forgot about that feud and started paying attention to Theory. Like, they revert course. I guess Logan Paul is controlling a lot of the stuff that he's doing. That's why he thinks he should be a babyface. That's why I guess he was the one that said, no, I want a singles match with The Miz and not a tag team match. I think WWE probably wanted to do the tag team match because it seemed like that's the best way to get over Logan Paul, is at least have him associated with a babyface so he can get the rub of babyface from AJ Styles. But they're not even doing that anymore. They really are going ahead with Logan Paul and The Miz. And I'm sorry. I don't care how people feel. I know you're a big Edge fan, and I was a big Edge fan. But Edge coming back to do Edge and Rey Mysterio versus Judgment Day. Judgment Day is it's done. It's as our good friend Dutch Mantel would say, they are DOA. They are dead on arrival. It didn't matter that Finn Balor and Damian Priest have gotten victories over Rey Mysterio in the last 2 weeks. This group is dead because they legitimately are just the only thing that gets them slightly over is them attacking Edge a month ago. And now they're just going to have Edge come back a month later and with this whole new gimmick and whole new vignettes. I'm digging the vignettes. They're cool. Great. But it's not going to do much for Judgment Day. Judgment Day, if they go into SummerSlam and they lose to Rey Mysterio and Edge, this is done. This you have totally wiped out this whole angle in a month or so. It's crazy.
Yeah, and man, injuries have really torpedoed this card, and they obviously torpedoed a lot what was going on with Judgment Day. The second, and Queen writing in here, she says she hopes Edge wins. Just kill the group, bring Rhea back, and never mention she was in that group again. And I know there are people who feel that way. I do think that this group with Balor and Priest and Rhea can work, but for that to happen, you gotta get Rhea back and healthy. Obviously, she's not ready to go. Otherwise, I think she would be on this SummerSlam card. And they have to win. They have to beat Edge. You have Rey Mysterio, who, yes, next week is his 20 years in WWE, and Dominic is probably going to turn heel finally on him because it seems like they have been just pushing that to the back burner until a moment that they can kind of create with that. But this whole Judgment Day wanting Dominic Mysterio thing, I'm like, why? Why do you want Dominic Mysterio, who, I'm sorry, after 2 years now, looks like an apple that fell way far off the tree? He's not getting any better. He's not. I don't think he's any better right now than he was when he faced Seth Rollins. I think he peaked in his first match ever with Seth Rollins, if I'm completely honest. He's just not improving. And at this point, I have no wantingness to watch Dominic Mysterio on my television screen. I just don't care about him. And I hope that he gets better. I hope that changes. I hope maybe a heel turn can alter that. But why does Judgment Day want him so damn bad? I don't understand. That just seems beneath Judgment Day. But again, without Edge, maybe it's not. And maybe you're right. Maybe this is DOA. They're just going to bring Edge back to beat them and then call it a day and whatever the hell's going to happen. Because remember, Rhea was the initial plan at Money in the Bank. And Dave Meltzer reported that Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair was the plan at SummerSlam. That is now happening. Means Rhea was going to lose at Money in the Bank on her first major title defeat. Rhea Ripley still should be the woman who takes the title off of Bianca Belair. Maybe it'll happen after SummerSlam. I don't know. But here's the question for you, SP3. With all of this jumbled mess and all of this jargon and the fact that, again, as I mentioned, injuries torpedoed this card. And frankly, WWE just did a poor job of working around that. And I Bleav that you can boil down this SummerSlam build to that in a microcosm. Injuries torpedoed this. They don't have Orton. They don't have Cody Rhodes. They don't have Rhea Ripley. They panicked. They didn't know what the hell to do, so they just went back to their comfort zone. That's why they called in Brock Lesnar. That's why they're doing, Becky Lynch and Bianca again. So it's like, at least they did something fresh with Liv Morgan winning the SmackDown Women's Championship, but now I'm worried they're just going to put the belt right back on Ronda, and that's going to mean nothing in the long run. So you look at the 8 matches we have right now, 4 are rematches. The 2 new ones, we got celebrities involved. Is it too late to change anything? Can something be done to jack up this card ahead of SummerSlam and build some intrigue and build some excitement and throw something new out there? Is there anything you can think off the top of your head?
I told you the thing they're going to add. They're going to add Edge's return. Edge's return versus Judgment Day in some way, whether it's Edge and Rey versus Damian and Finn, whether it's them versus Dominic along with them, or Rey versus Dominic. It's something involving that angle that they're going to probably add on this MSG Go Home show. As far as on the SmackDown side, I don't see anything in the running. SmackDown has 2 matches on this show, and one of them involves Pat McAfee and Happy Corbin. Everything else seems to, and the other is Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, who both of them have barely been on the damn television show, like, and Liv and Rhonda, and they barely interacted with each other on the television show. So
Yep.
it's bare bones at this point. I don't see anything that would get me more interested in the SummerSlam card at this point. And this is not me saying, like, I will say this to compare, I don't like comparing the two, but I will compare this to AEW, who were hit with injuries and it affected Forbidden Door. I thought the build up to Forbidden Door was probably the worst build up for any AEW pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view itself delivered. So I'm hoping that despite me not being interested in SummerSlam, that the performers can overcome that when it's showtime on July 30th, and it's a great show. So I hope we can get that, but I don't have the biggest optimism here. Oh, Hypnosis Bro did bring up two good ones with Gunther and Shinsuke Nakamura, even though
Yep.
that feels like a TV program. It doesn't, they never put the Intercontinental title on a pay-per-view. And Sheamus and Drew should have been made for SummerSlam weeks ago. After they didn't give us it when Sheamus got COVID on national TV, they should have just said, we're going to give you that match at SummerSlam. But no, they're probably going to wait till maybe Friday afternoon before SmackDown airs, and they're going to tell us, oh, we're adding that to SummerSlam too. Going to juice up the guard, guys. Don't worry. We'll add Sheamus and Drew, a match we've seen 4,000 times, and we'll only get a fraction of the minutes that it's got previously at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I would be stunned at this point if Gunther and Nakamura is added to the pay-per-view card, because again, the Intercontinental Championship hasn't been on pay-per-view since WrestleMania 37. But it's an option. I would love to see Gunther get a shot at SummerSlam, and I think he could have a really good match with Shinsuke Nakamura. McIntyre and Sheamus seems to be a no-duh. Maybe they put him in a cage match with Sheamus constantly ducking and running. I don't know if they do some kind of stipulation there, but adding any kind of intrigue, I don't see it into the buildup. I think we're going to go into this with low expectations, much like a lot of WWE's pay-per-views, because getting from point A to point B is not their strong suit. But I am optimistic that this card is 100% going to deliver. I think McAfee and Corbin is going to be a low-key banger. Obviously, Riddle and Rollins, even though I agree with you that they could be doing more with this build, that match is going to be absolutely fantastic. We know the Usos and the Profits can go. Who knows what Jeff Jarrett adds to the mix, or why he was chosen, or how that makes any kind of sense from a storyline standpoint. And I do believe that Roman and Brock have kind of this is kind of a redemption for them, because I don't think that their WrestleMania match was all that spectacular. So I think this is kind of a reprieve for them, another shot, and I think it'll come through. And there's going to be more matches we'll talk about here when we get into the 5 count. I think this will deliver as a good show, and it is still SummerSlam. We're going to get some surprises, I would imagine. We'll talk about that more coming up here, but enough complaining. Let's talk about some good news, shall we? Fightful Select reporting today that the man himself, former AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, nearing a return to action in AEW after being out for quite some time now with a myriad of issues and surgeries and everything like that. No definitive date yet, but all eyes appear to be All Out September. Possible 6-man tag team match mixing in there with the Young Bucks, which may be why we aren't going to be getting Young Bucks and FTR for the AEW World Tag Team titles like we thought, and they decided to make the switch over to Swerve and Keith Lee. I know this news today, SP3, brought a big old smile to your face.
This is what I've been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. Like, AEW has been hit hard with this injury bug, but the three people I want to see return the most is Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega has been gone since I saw his last match in AEW before he went out to recover from all the injuries at Full Gear 2021. One of the best matches of last year with Hangman Adam Page in the main event, where Hangman Adam Page won the AEW World Championship. You just think about all the classic matches he had last year when he was at 60, 65%, 50% most of the time, having vertigo as he's out here having 5 5-star classics with Bryan Danielson, with Ray Phoenix, with Pac and Orange Cassidy, with Rich Swann, with Sami Callihan for AEW, Impact Wrestling, and AAA. I'm so happy that Kenny Omega is coming back. I very interested to see who they are going up against, because with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly out, it's not going to be the Undisputed Elite that's going to be in this 6-man tag unless they are coming back very soon. But that's not what I've heard about both Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. We do have 2 months until we get to All Out, but I still am wary about that. So I'm very interested to see who Omega and the Bucks face. But this is very exciting times. The OG Elite seems to be coming together, because you got the whole storyline going on with Hangman Adam Page kind of inching his way back to his friendship with the Young Bucks. You got Kenny Omega on his way back. All we need is Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly to return, and that just adds so many different layers of, I think it's going to be a great storyline to end off 2022. Very interested in Kenny Omega coming back, and I'm very happy that the cleaner, the best bout machine, is returning back to All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, I know Dr. Baker kind of gave an update on Adam Cole, saying that he is progressing, he is getting better, but that is by no means saying, hey, look, he's going to be back next week. He did suffer a very serious concussion. He was also dealing with the labrum injury. I'd like to be optimistic that we get that, elite, undisputed elite matchup, 6-man tag team match. I think a great substitution could be something like, Omega and the Young Bucks versus House of Black for the inaugural Trios Championship. I think something like that would be a nice little consolation prize. But yeah, Kenny Omega has been sorely missed. As Queen says, I miss Kenny. Can't wait to see him back. Like you said, man, this is a guy who was in the prime of his career putting on incredible, absolutely jaw-dropping, incredibly great matches, and this guy could barely move. He was so busted up. Shoulder injuries, knee problems, back problems, you name it, it was hurting on the man. And he's doing shit like exploding barbed wire death matches with Jon Moxley. Like, it's insane. That kind of mentality is nuts to me, how he was able to do that. Hell, just walking to the ring with like his 8 championships around him, and that's like 60 extra pounds. That had to be a pain in the ass, right? Like, this is good news. It's nice to see a target date, because we hadn't even had that for the longest time. So even if this doesn't happen at All Out, just the fact that we know that there are plans being made for Kenny Omega, just the fact that we know we can now see the sun coming up over the horizon from the ominous clouds ahead of us. We can now see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is good news for Kenny Omega fans, for AEW fans, for wrestling fans, period. It sucks that he had to miss Forbidden Door. Can't wait for him to come back and see him on my television screen.
Oh, I just came up with it because when you said House of Black, I was like, man, they got too much going on right now. They got Darby and Sting. They got Miro. Perfect substitution. If Bryan Danielson is on his way back, Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. Wheeler Yuta, Claudio, and Bryan Danielson versus Omega and the Bucks. Book it right now. Give me that at all.
Co-main events, because hopefully it's going to be Punk and Moxley in the main event at All Out.
Well, it also sounds like Punk is on his way back, which that would be that's the main event that they need, and it's totally understandable with Kenny Omega coming back. If CM Punk is able to come back at All Out, why they saved FTR and the Young Bucks. They was like, you know what, we could do that, but that's blowing our load too early here. We waited 18 months between the first and the second match between FTR and the Young Bucks. Let's make them wait a little bit more.
Appreciate all you guys who are chiming in and tuning in for our first live one, and God knows I don't know how long. Hopefully we can continue to do these every Tuesday at 2:15. By the way, if you haven't been on the channel in a while, I had an interview that dropped with Renee Paquette. When did I drop that? Was that yesterday? I think I dropped that yesterday morning. That came out yesterday morning. Just a fantastic hour-long chat with Renee, just shooting the shit, talking shop, everything as far as StarCast 5 and getting the Talking Smack reunion, pulling the curtain back on Talking Smack and WWE backstage. Just a great conversation. If you hadn't had a chance to check that out, go on and do that right now. Well, after we're done anyway. It's up there in the interview section. Coming tomorrow to the interview section will be my chat with AEW's Athena, which was just look, I could tell you all the stuff we talked about, but just trust me, it was fun as fuck. Just absolutely. She's one of my favorite people to talk to on this planet. You guys aren't going to want to miss that. Oh, and by the way, speaking of SummerSlam, next week I'll have an interview dropping with everybody's favorite person. Everybody loves him some Happy Corbin, right? Everybody loves Happy Corbin and his match with Pat McAfee, who people actually like. So we'll dive into all of that. And hell, I may just spend 15 minutes talking to him about barbecue. Like, seriously, I just might say screw SummerSlam and just dive into it. But let's get back into SummerSlam right now, shall we?
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
All right, SP3, you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. I do want to have you expound upon that a little bit pessimistic about this because, again, if you look at the 8 matches that are set up, we have half the card at SummerSlam that is a rematch at this point, something that we have seen before. Obviously, Roman and Brock, Lashley in theory, we just saw a month ago. Usos and Street Profits, same thing. And Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair have been feuding for the better part of a year now, and this should be their culmination at SummerSlam. Can you look past the drag, the stigma of another rematch, knowing that Bianca and Becky, should they get the time, let's ignore that for 1 second, please, are going to absolutely kill it? Can you look past that knowing that these two work so well with one another and just enjoy the ride here?
It's gonna be tough to outdo what they did at WrestleMania. That was the right setting, the right time, and it felt that could have been the thing, that match, because of the quality of it. Could have been the thing that got Bianca Belair back to where she was when she made her entrance last year at SummerSlam, and it didn't. We've seen now 3 months later, it didn't get Bianca Belair back to where she was. Becky Lynch has still been the focus of the show. So I'm really convinced, because I was saying this to you, I said it to everybody before WrestleMania, the result to get Bianca Belair back to where she was is her beating Becky Lynch in a shorter amount of time than Becky beat her at SummerSlam. So if it's just going to be another great match, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I'm going to enjoy the match, yes, but it's what we're going to be talking about 3 months down the road when Bianca Belair loses the Raw Women's Championship. I'm just going to be like, it was good. It was a good reign, but it wasn't better than her SmackDown Women's Championship reign that Becky Lynch's return overshadowed, and she hasn't been the same since.
Bianca Belair is so snake bit when it comes to championship runs at this point, not because of her. She's been great. She's had so many feuds and so many matches that have been either cut or altered due to injury. I mean, she's had matches with Bayley, with Sasha, and now Rhea Ripley that have just been completely thrown for a loop and not happened and have to been replaced. And sadly, it's Carmella who has to bite the bullet a lot of the times when she gets brought in. I feel bad for Carmella, by the way, last night, because Bianca got her ass whooped by Carmella and Becky at the start of that match, a match that Carmella only needed to win by countout to take the Raw Women's Championship. I, for like a half a second, thought they were going to do something bold and something different and something to kind of shake things up. For like a half second, I'm like, are they about to do this? Like, are they about to screw Bianca out of the title to set up the triple threat match at SummerSlam? Obviously, they didn't go that way. But, like, what can you do with Carmella now that she lost that match clean as a sheet? And they don't give a fuck about Alexa Bliss. And that's what's irritating to me, is you could actually be building some stuff up on this card that people would get behind. You could actually start building your tag team division. You can't tell me not. And it's insane to me that you have somebody the caliber and the talent of Alexa Bliss, and you're not doing anything with her. Nothing. No secondary storylines. Zip, zada, zilch. It's infuriating. So, yeah, I was a little pissed off when she won the 24/7 championship and then just sat there and got rolled up. And then, yeah, hey, cool, her team won the match. Awesome. SP3, what the hell was up with putting Titus on
the police? They put up their black employee out there, and they be like, you know, even though what happened to Marcus was bad, we are a safe haven in this company. And I think that this was Vince McMahon playing puppet master, and he had Titus's strings out there like, we're not here to say politics or religion. We are here as a safe haven. And I felt bad for Titus because Titus is such a good guy. He's a lovely.
That our audience has completely dropped off, so maybe we are suffering some kind of a technical difficulty. Really hope it's not my damn internet, but the fact that I'm still talking to SP3 right now would make me assume that everything is going okay. So we'll try to we'll just soldier on here. We're going to wrap up soon anyway. So we do appreciate everybody who's sticking with us so far, and sorry for any technical difficulty from that point. This is getting old. It's getting old.
Yeah.
It is getting so old so fast. Like, I honestly don't know if I would be watching as hardcore as I am if I didn't cover it partially for a living. SP3, we now know.
A fantastic show. You got Jacob Fatu versus Josh Alexander. You got Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordan Grace versus Rachel Ellering for the Impact Knockouts Championship. You got a AAA Fatal 4-Way with Bandito, Laredo Kid, Black Taurus, and Ray Phoenix. That's going to be a killer. But Ric Flair in the main event at 73 years old. I know Andrade is going to be doing most of the work here. I'm literally
and thank God.
Of that.
And thank God. Because I had no interest in watching Flair wrestle at his age with his health issues. I would just be uncomfortable watching the whole thing the whole damn time. I'm very happy to see that this was a tag team match, that this was made a tag team match. It's very smart. Flair's dealing with plantar fasciitis right now on top of everything else. So he's going to get in there and he's going to take some bumps and probably lock somebody in a figure four. I wouldn't be surprised if Flair made Jay Lethal tag. We're disappointed by that, but I'm like, guys, trust me, this is going to be much, much better. Please just let Andrade and Jay Lethal wow the crowd for 10 minutes. Rick can get his old geriatric ass in there for 3 to 4, pick up the win, call it a career. AEW Dynamite Fighter Fest night 2 tomorrow, week 2, night 3 tomorrow, early on the morning. You can catch my chat with Athena. That is good.
Check out my interviews with Impact Wrestling's Rosemary. That's up on the channel right now. Later today, I have my interview with Kevin Gill, the voice